All right, we're live and rolling. How are you doing, Brent?
I'm doing all right. How are you today?
I've been doing good. I've had a pretty good day today. I had a solid morning at work, and now I'm kind of just chilling and vibing, trying to get some stuff rolling. How's Ultraviolent been doing since we
Ultraviolent?
talked last?
Ultraviolent is doing okay. We just played a show on Sunday. The weather wasn't exactly ideal, but we brought because it was outside,
Right,
because of COVID. But we brought we brought some canopies to play underneath, and it ended up working good enough for us to play. So you
right,
gotta
yeah.
make do.
That's the big thing right now with a lot of bands. I see that there's bands trying to go out and doing it safely and being outside, trying to follow all the COVID messed up guidelines and stuff. Where we want everybody to be safe, but I think it's cool to see bands still getting out there in some way, trying to do what we all love to do, which is live music, and do it in a safe way where everyone's still getting to experience that while they're working all this nonsense out with COVID.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you don't at least try to keep doing it, or if you don't try to stay relevant during COVID, whether that's playing shows or making content for social media, you're just gonna, I hate to say it, but you'll die off eventually. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah, no, I
that's what we
totally
can't
agree.
have.
I think there's a lot of bands right now that are taking this time, and whether they're playing out shows, doing like a drive-in thing, or if they're doing online content, like you mentioned, I feel like there's bands that are doing it really well, and then there's bands that are kind of still shaky on it, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, it really depends on the type of following you have. Like, if you don't have a following and you just try to change up your whole way you do things just because of COVID, it might not go over well. But if you're like Metallica and you're like, yeah, we're gonna play at a drive-in, and everyone's like, okay, I'll be at the drive-in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they weren't even at the drive-in that they did because they were just streaming like a live concert video from like 3 years ago. So it was so strange to me. I was like, everyone's actually going to this. This is strange. But like the live concerts that were at drive-ins, I thought were so much fun because I saw Steel Panther at the one in Butler and one in Scranton, and I thought those were so dope. And it was so much fun. And it was so cool to kind of still see everybody, but in like a safe environment. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good way of going at it. And I see there's some bands that are doing kind of indoor socially distant shows where they're at like there's tables that you can buy and everyone's kind of off doing their own thing. So I think that's a good way of doing it too. And I like seeing bands that are still out there grinding because at this point they're not doing it for money. Nobody's doing it for money at this point because nobody's making shit doing
Right.
quarter
I
percent capacities.
I saw a picture of like this band. I don't know who it was. It was for some article. I didn't even take the time to read it, but it looked like everyone was in those bubbles, like their own personal bubble
Yeah,
ball. I
I
don't know who
saw
that was
that.
for. I missed it, but that
Yeah,
might be a
I
little
don't
extreme for
remember.
my liking.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I remember I kind of like breezed through the article. I don't remember what band it was, but I think they only did like a song or two. Like it wasn't like a full show like that. But
Gotcha.
that's so insane. Like I'm too
Crazy.
claustrophobic for that to be in like a bubble. Like that's like
I'd fall
stupid.
down. Like, imagine like a bubble mosh. Like, you'd never see it anywhere else. Like, that would be so cool.
It reminds me of this like I might be showing my age on this, but those games on Nickelodeon like in the early 2000s where they were like in the gerbil wheels like rolling down the
Yep.
hills and
And you
stuff
had
like
to.
that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's all
I
it
know what you
reminds me
mean.
of. I was like, is this a play on Nickelodeon right now? What's going on?
That's funny.
Oh my god, it's so crazy. So I talked to you guys back, I think it was back in April, like right when everything was locked down. And you guys were kind of working on some new music and stuff. Where kind of are you guys at? Are you guys still kind of writing? Are you guys in the studio or what's the deal?
Yeah. So well, we record everything ourselves, and like from the ground up, from writing the songs all the way to mixing, mastering to when it's in your hand is pretty much all us. So while we're writing, we're simultaneously tracking our ideas in the studio. So it does get things done quicker that way, and it is effectively cheaper that way. Once we're
Right.
able to figure out how to do it like that. We have a bunch of songs that are not like 100% finished, but like there's skeletons there. Like I'm looking at our whiteboard here and we got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 demos here that we're
Yeah,
sitting
that's a
on
lot.
that will probably get released on a full length anywhere between 10 to 12 tracks again. Um, I'm not sure. I really couldn't tell you when that would come out. We're trying to
Right.
do it as soon as possible, but we don't want to rush the music because this stuff is sounding kick ass, if I'm not gonna lie to you. A lot
Yeah.
we're proud of how our evolution is becoming. Each release keeps sounding better than the last, so we want to
I think
really
that's always the name of the game is to keep growing as a band. And as you guys kind of find more of your sound, I guess, it's like generic and corny as that sounds, you guys start becoming, it just becomes like a better thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, on top of that, we're learning how to record better, so, like, the songs are also improving, so it's not like we spent X amount of money on a recording for our first album, and now we're gonna, like, back off our budget, and now our songs sound shittier, like, no, it's just gonna keep getting better, you know what I mean?
Right, right. That's
So,
really cool though that you guys have that like recording studio setup thing. So how did you guys kind of get into doing all that?
um, well, it initially wasn't supposed to happen. It's a really funny story. Um,
I'm
back
also sorry, my dog's losing her shit upstairs right now, so I'm sorry if that's like
Oh, I
feeding in the
can't really
background.
tell, no,
Okay, okay. It's
but
really loud to me, and I'm like, I hope that's not like back feeding because she's just flipping out upstairs. I don't know what's
no,
going
it's
on.
fine. It's completely okay. Back in 2016, we were, well, about 16, 17 years old. We went to track our first EP. It was 5 songs. It was called 5. Oh my god, it was so original.
Ooh.
Yeah, um, and we went to the studio. Our buddy was going to LVC college at the time, and he's like, "Hey, come on in, we'll track you and do stuff." And we went in there and we did 2 songs, and that was like a whole day thing. We went home, and this was like January of the year, and we hear back and they're like, "Yeah, so it turns out we like lost the files to your songs." Like something along those lines happened,
Oh
and
my
we're
god,
like
that's like a Steel Panther moment.
we were like, "Okay, well, we told everyone that we wanted this EP to come out before the end of the school year because like we were still in high school.
Yeah.
So instead of going back and doing that, we had this empty ass little room in our basement where we practiced. We were like, fuck it. We'll just, if we want this done really quick, we're gonna do this ourselves. So we built this little thing and it ended up working in our favor. And we put the EP out in June of that year before the school year ended. It sounded like fucking garbage because we didn't know anything about what we were doing. I mean,
Yeah,
don't
you
get
guys
me
were still
wrong.
kind of getting like the gear, so it probably sounded like it was recorded on like a potato or some shit.
Yeah, and I probably would have rather recorded it on a potato. It would have sounded better, but like what's funny though is like if they wouldn't have lost our songs, I this little studio thing wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of happy about it, I guess. You know, I've learned so much over the course of those couple of years since we've been doing everything on our own. It's like night and day. It sounds like 2 totally different studios. Like you'd be mind blown the difference. What's funny is we actually put out a quote unquote remaster of that first EP. And this was still back when we didn't know what we were doing. We dropped the remaster like a couple months later. And it wasn't even a remaster. We just made the snare drum sound less like shit and called it a remaster. Uh, so that's the story of that, but that's not on like iTunes anymore or anything.
Yeah.
We don't want people getting the wrong impression. I mean, we were very proud of it at the time. Like we were 16 and we fucking recorded our own EP and it was like the most
Yeah.
awesome thing.
No,
And we were
that's
so,
pretty impressive,
yeah,
honestly. Even if it sounded like total garbage, like that is super impressive that you guys were like, no, fuck this. We're just gonna go record our own shit. Like we don't need like anybody else's like
yeah,
nonsense within
and
using the tracks.
don't get me wrong, like I'm glad it happened and it was good, and you know we were proud of it. And some of those songs we actually re-recorded for Eviction, which is our full length that we put out last year, um, because we felt the songs needed justice. They just didn't sound good on the EP, but they were good songs. Um, but yeah, I'm glad it happened, and it's just one of those things where it's a learning experience, and we wouldn't be here today if none of that would have happened.
No, for
Um,
sure.
like, but it's not. I mean, we have a couple physicals left of that EP, but we don't really put it out at the merch table, and it's not on iTunes anymore, just because we want to be as professional as possible. But it's still kind of one of those things where it's like, if you know, you know, type of deal. Or
Right,
if you were
right.
one of the first ones, you might have this CD, or maybe in like 10 years it'll be worth something someday if we do something with ourselves. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But
Yeah, like one of those like bootleg things that you find on eBay.
yeah,
It's like Alice in Chains like first demo kind of thing. That's like
yeah, it's like, hey, we
$300.
were check this thing out that we did when we were 16. You know, so.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool though. I like the drivenness of that. And like you said, everything in the music industry is kind of a learning experience to a certain degree, whether it's like what you're doing with shows or with recording and stuff. And sometimes recording like by yourself is sometimes like even better than I guess relying on somebody else, because I know a lot of people praise producers, and I'm not talking against that by any means, but I think sometimes producers kind of get in the way of the creative process sometimes with a band and want to throw all of their ideas in. So kind of having like your own space where you guys are just doing your own thing in your own kind of corner is always a better
Well, that
option, I think,
well
for
that
certain bands.
well that's what we love about it. But I mean, it's give and take, you know, because it does give us a very pressure-free environment when we're recording or when we're writing, and we have the freedom to write what we want to write, and we don't have anyone telling us otherwise. And we're happy about that. We're happy with how everything's turning out. We can kind of quote unquote produce it ourselves. We can take our song and be like, you know what, maybe this section is a little long. We should trim this down and throw it here and
Right.
there. But on the other hand, it's like, well, we could sit here forever until it's perfect, and it's never going to be perfect in our eyes because we're the artist and we're our own biggest
Yeah.
critique. So we could sit here and mess with it forever, but I still prefer that over tracking something and then waiting on getting a mix back and hoping they made everything sound the way you wanted it to sound or envisioned it the way you sound. Whereas when we're in here, we can all work together to create that vision instead of just relying on someone spending money getting it back and not even liking it at the end.
Yeah, which is a big thing because I've heard like a couple bands, and it's usually, I guess up and coming bands, for lack of better term, will get some like tracks back, and they're like, "This is not what I thought this was gonna sound like. This is not what I wanted to sound like," and it's shitty when you kind of I guess work with people sometimes and they kind of take over, and then it's like you're not as the artist, you're not fully content with your own product, and I feel
Yeah,
like that's the name of the game.
it's a risk, you know, and the happier you are with your product, the more you're gonna want to put it out there,
Right.
and and the more control you have over your own stuff, the easier it's going to be for you to stay in the game longer and actually do something with yourself. I mean, outsourcing is cool, and obviously you're going to need it once you hit a certain level, and depends on what you're actually doing, whether you need extra help with merch or that kind of thing. But
Right.
but the more control that you can keep over the entire process, in my opinion, is going to help you out. At least if you have control of what you're overseeing and you trust the people you're working with and you know what you're going to get out of everything, then that's fine too.
Right. No, I totally agree because I find that like I see a lot of the bigger bigger acts that are playing bigger venues and stuff, doing more independent stuff. I know I've mentioned Steel Panther a couple times, but they really only outsource for like booking and stuff like that. They're a big independent band, and a bunch of people kind of poke fun at them because of obvious reasons, but I feel like a band like that doing a lot of stuff independently kind of shows where the, I guess, producer aspect of the game is, where everyone tries to get in and control what you're doing. And then there's a band like that that's like independently just out, like writing their own stuff, recording their own stuff, pushing it pretty much by themselves. So I always thought that was kind of cool, and I like seeing artists that do that. I think Marilyn Manson kind of did a similar thing with the new album that he just put out. I don't think he really worked with anybody too massively on it. So I always think that's pretty cool when I see bands that are still independently doing stuff and still can reach a certain level, because that, I feel like that gives a lot of hope to, I guess, like up and coming bands that are trying to do everything independently.
That's true, but at the same time, it's like, they had to get to where they are now before they
Right.
could hit that point, We can't just, I mean, yeah, we do a lot of stuff ourselves, but at the same time, it's like, well,
You need help though.
if we don't ask for help, or if we don't get the promo we need, I mean, we're just gonna stay at the same spot we are now, I
Yeah.
mean, if you're already at that level, which I'm sure, I don't quote me, but either of those bands probably weren't independent their entire career.
Right.
They probably had help or a label somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
That got them to a point where they can say, okay, I'm independent now and I'm keeping more of my money.
Yeah.
So they have the freedom to do that. But if you can get to that point, then by all means do that type of thing. Like I saw Steel Panther was charging a couple $1,000s for, you could have them write a song for you
Yeah,
or
that's
something
pretty
like that.
ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know what the deal was there.
That was pretty ridiculous. I will fully put a disclaimer on that. I've been very open about it. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous.
It was dumb. I mean, it's an interesting idea, and I'd really like to hear what all came out of it, like if anyone actually did it. But
Yeah. Yeah,
I,
I was like, oh, whoa, what the hell's this? It's
yeah.
like you don't see any other bands doing that though. So I thought that was kind of like, I've never seen a band be like, oh, hey, give me like a couple grand and I'll write you a song.
Mhm.
It was so like, wait, what is this?
But I mean, the type of band they are allows them to do that,
Yeah.
because of the way they act and what
Yeah.
they sing about.
Yeah.
They can do that and not look dumb about it, because you could listen to it and think it's just like any other Steel Panther song. You wouldn't even know that it was written
Yeah.
for somebody. So
Yeah, for sure.
they can get away with that. If anyone's gonna get away with that, it's gonna be that band. So I mean, they were smart about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's great that they're doing that, but it's a lot of money.
It
Jesus
was.
Christ.
I was like, I could like buy a brand new car for this. What are you guys doing?
Yeah. If it
It
works
was
for them,
cool.
though.
I fully support it, but I was also kind of like, that's a lot of money. Like, holy
If
shit.
I mean, it might sound dumb, but like, if people are buying it, how dumb is it really?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if people are paying for it, I mean, it's not really obviously stupid, but it was crazy. I like their fan base is pretty freaking wild. So like, there's somebody somewhere that's like, yeah, damn right, I'm gonna fucking get Steel Panther to write a song for me. Like, there's somebody out there that's like spazzing out, like, yeah, we're gonna fucking do this.
Yeah, like you wouldn't hire Slipknot to write a song that says, "My neighbor Benny took your girl." Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, literally, or get like
Like,
Marilyn Manson to like write a song for your girlfriend. Like, nobody's
yeah,
gonna do that.
yeah, no, or I mean, he might cover the freaking Eurythmics, but that's about as far as they go. Um, you know, it's cool, but whatever works, especially during COVID. I get
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, I think it's been interesting, and like not even just them, but seeing how some of the bands are getting creative with getting, I guess, different like income streams, which
mhm.
I always think was pretty cool. Like there were a bunch of bands I saw for a while doing those live streams on Facebook or Twitch. A lot of them I was seeing on Twitch, and they had like a tip jar kind of thing, and I thought that was really cool that they were doing that.
Yeah, we want to try and do something along those lines. because of the way our live setup is now, it's just like a big rack, and a lot of our instruments just go right into the thing, and we can rip the sound straight from it. So we
Mhm.
were just kinda I don't even know when this would be. It was just a thought
Right.
that happened, but if we would play in our practice space and set up a camera and play through that thing and rip the audio and stitch it together, that could be cool. We're also in contact with this one studio that kinda does that thing for you, and it's like, well, maybe if we get a little bit better quality of that type of thing, we could post it on, like, YouTube, or we could record the album and put it on Spotify and be like, "Oh, it's a live album," or type of thing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, yeah. I also thought that was kind of cool that I've seen a couple bands trying to do something like that too with like a live album from like a stream. I can't think of the band that did it, but somebody did something at the Whiskey. Like they did a live stream from the Whiskey and then they were selling like the audio as like a live album,
mm.
which I thought was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty interesting. So I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, and it's just more content because you can split those songs up and tease them as if they're almost actual music videos, and if you want to,
Hmm.
you could really milk them out for a couple weeks at a time. If you got 12
Hmm.
songs, I mean, holy hell, that's a lot of content, so
Yeah.
as long as you know how to use it properly, um, and how people are gonna eat it up, you should be okay. Like, if we went in there and recorded the whole album and the next day we dropped a 53-minute video of us playing through the whole thing, like, that'd be really dumb. Because
Yeah.
like, well, now what are we gonna post about for the next 6 months, you know? But
Right, right. Yeah, you have to be smart definitely when it comes to content because I see a lot of bands and it was kind of like what you were saying earlier. When you get to a certain point, you can just drop a bunch of content. It's not a big deal. But when you're kind of like at that like middle level and like kind of like still up and coming and below that, you got to be careful with the content because I see a lot of bands that are just like, oh yeah, here's our album, have fun. And it's like, no, like
I saw
you
that
have
today.
to, huh?
I saw that today.
Mm-hmm.
An
Yeah.
artist an artist that I saw that I didn't even know was dropping anything said, "Hey, here's a X-track full album."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, "Cool. You did nothing to make me wanna listen to this. I don't even know what you sound like. Why should I go listen to 12 of your songs?"
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, like, "Oh, here's my music, have fun." Like,
okay,
no,
cool.
like
10 other
yeah.
people said that to me today, like, why should I listen to yours, you know?
Mhm.
Not to be a dick, but
No, no, that's fair.
yeah, yeah,
No, that's fair. That's from, like, a fan that's more of, like, a fan standpoint, though, and I think it's good that, like, you have kind of that mindset because going into anything, you have to know how to promote your stuff, whether it's music whether you're in a band promoting music or you're trying to sell something at a retail store, you're trying to
yeah.
get someone to come eat at your restaurant.
Or I'll
Like,
get I'll get messages on Facebook that's just like a fucking link. And I'll open it up and
oh, I
it's
hate that.
some dude's music video, and I'm just like, "Oh, cool. You made me wanna not listen to it even more now." Um,
Mhm.
or me and 99 others get tagged in a post that says, "Hey, caps lock, exclamation point, sunglasses emoji. Check out my" music note emoji, "new" oh my god emoji, "band single." And I'm just like, how about no?"
Yeah, no,
Th
I
thi
totally agree with that.
This could be the greatest song in the world, but you made me want to not listen to it now. Like, I don't know.
The only time that that
That's just
doesn't
me.
annoy me is if I, like, know the band, like, if I, like, either casually or, like, personally know them, and I've, like, talked to them recently, and they're like, "Oh, hey," like, and they tag me and, like, a bunch of other people that are kind of in the same group on it, that doesn't really aggravate me, but when it's like, "Oh, here, go like my band page," and it's just, like, the link, and that's all they send you, it's like, I don't even know you, like, you didn't even try to have a conversation with me, this is some bullshit.
Yeah. I don't know. And then what? After I like your band page, then what? Like,
Yeah,
okay, you got what you wanted, now you're not gonna ever talk to me again, so
yeah, it's like, what's the point in that? Like,
yeah.
I don't get that. Or, like, my favorite thing is, like, for MSU Media, I'll get, like, these random contact submissions, from, like, off the website, and it'll be like, "Dear Sir," and I'm like, "Hello?" Like, at least just be, like, generic, like, "Hello," like, you don't need to call me sir, like, what the hell is
Yeah. Dear sir.
Yeah, dear sir. I'm like, hello? Like, can I help you? Or they don't really tell me what they want me to do. Like, they'll just be like, oh, hey, I'm like in this band, and here's our Facebook, and here's our band camp. Go check it out. I'm just like,
Now
okay.
what?
Yeah,
Like,
like, what are you guys doing right now? And I click on it, and they have like one song that was like released in like 2017 that sounds like it was recorded on a potato, and I'm like,
see, I'm familiar with the potato. Okay, I can understand the potato. Um, However, yeah, I get it. It's like I didn't really want to start heavily promoting anything until I was confident that what we had sounded great. So
yeah,
because that can almost hurt you sometimes. Like if you
mm-hmm,
try and promote your shit and it sounds like a potato, it might sound spectacular, whatever you put out 2 years from then.
mm-hmm,
But if you try and resubmit yourself, if they listened to you the first time and said, "Wow, I remember this band, they sounded like a potato," they're not gonna listen to you again, you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
So, it's sometimes it's best to wait it out.
Yeah, and make sure you have a good product before you try to like shop it to a million
Yeah, and
people.
that's a lot of thing too, it's like a lot of bands play with, I guess, what you call scared money. Like, they spend money on it, like, enough to get something, but not enough for it to push them to the next level or take them anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kinda like that mid-range type
Yeah,
of thing where it's almost like, in this day and age, if you wanna stand out, you gotta have killer stuff,
yeah,
and sometimes killer stuff costs a lot of money, and sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet and deal with it, you know?
yeah. Like they're somewhat committed, but they're not fully committed.
Right, yeah, like
Yeah.
that kinda thing, yeah, it's like you gotta have each member, like, all in
Mm-hmm.
before you can consider, uh, making it,
Yeah, you
unless.
gotta have everybody on board, ready to go, aiming at the right goal, or it's just not gonna work.
Mhm.
Especially with how it is right now with COVID and everything being online. You have to have everyone down for promotion and getting the word out and all that
Yeah, well, I
nonsense.
mean, especially when you can't play shows, if it's the only way you're gonna get your new stuff out there, then, I mean, hell,
Yeah.
you gotta put that money out, and if you're a band that does the pay-to-play thing, I mean, you put the money that you would use towards a pay-to-play show and put it in your ads instead, and you'll probably see a better turnout.
Yeah, for
So,
sure. No, I totally agree. I definitely agree. Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk with me tonight, man. I really appreciate it.
of course, thanks for having me.
And everyone should go check out Ultraviolent's last album and keep an ear out for new music coming out hopefully soon-ish. Hopefully.
I agree. I'm ready.
Hopefully. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.